out of the 30 plus properties, the single family homes, I've only seen one of them. All of them, I don't even see them because I see pictures, but I hire experts to do all the work.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Remote Investor. I'm Michael Albom, and today I'm joined by Dustin Heiner. He's an investor, mentor, coach, among many other things. And he's going to be walking us through how he went from zero to retired using single-family homes and real estate. So let's get into it. Dustin Heiner, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Michael? I'm very blessed, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I love real estate investing, and real estate investing is fun, but it's what it affords me to do in my life where I don't have to work a job. I love the term successfully unemployed because I quit my job when I was 37 years old. Now I just go to the gym and hang out with the family, travel the world, and come on podcasts and talk to great people like you. So thank you for having me on.
Man. No, it's totally a pleasure. I am super excited to chat with you today because you've done the thing that so many of us are trying to do, that so many of our audience members are looking to do. And so you speaking about this lifestyle that I think so many are striving for. So walk us back, like, how did that come to be? Because there's probably some steps involved. You didn't just go from working to retired. There's some things behind the curtain. So give us the quick and dirty, like, how did you get started? Where are you coming from? And what is it you're doing in real estate today?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll fast forward to today, but then I'll quickly go back because I want to give you where I'm at now. So now over 30 single family homes, midterm, short term, long term properties, two large apartment complexes, total of over 775 units, invest in hotels as well. But I didn't start there. In fact, I was very, very poor when I was growing up. My mom and dad, stepdad, they had a 2-bedroom, 900 square foot house. And so we didn't have any money. But I got to share with you like how I got started, but it didn't start with me investing. And so I got the most stable, secure job you could ever think of. So we're all taught this plan where you go to school, get good grades. You take those good grades and you go into college or university and get in thousands of dollars into debt. And then you get a piece of paper called a degree and you go around and you try to find a career. Well, I'm doing the exact same plan that we're all taught. So I get the most stable job you could ever think of, working for a local county government in California doing IT. So California is not going away. Government's definitely not going away. And IT, it's not going away. And so I started working that desk job, but I bought one rental property back in 2006. Bought one rental property, and that started making me passive income from every single month from the rents coming in. I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. The easiest money I've ever made. I need to be an investor. I need to start buying more and more properties. But you know what happens? You're working a full-time job, desk job, and life starts getting in the way. My wife and I started having kids. And this is what really shoved me and got me into real estate investing was I put investing on pause because we were having families and stuff, and I was working. And then when I went on paternity leave after my wife had her fourth child, we have 5 kids now, very blessed with 5 kids.
Amazing.
But I went on paternity leave with my fourth child. So that's where the dad goes home. The mom changes poopy diapers and all the good stuff and bonds with the baby. Well, after 2 weeks, I go back to work. And in that same week, I go back to work. I get a call on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. And she says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? And I said, sure. And I hung up the phone. I paused for a second. I thought, why in the world are they calling me in the office? Like, this is not normal. And I've seen plenty of movies. Friday at 3:30 is not a good sign. So right then and there, I realized
promotion.
Exactly. And so, but there was some rumors or some rumbling going on before I went on paternity leave that there could potentially be layoffs because the county was having, budget issues. I immediately shook it off. I said, there's no way. I've got great seniority here. My boss is saying I do a great job. I get raises all the time. So I get up and I go down the hallway to my boss's office. And this hallway isn't very long. In fact, it's kind of short. But every single step I took, it felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. And it felt like my feet became lead bricks because the weight of potentially losing my job was starting to weigh down on me. Well, I get down the corner and down the hallway. I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door is closed and I see his secretary there, super sweet, nice old lady. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? So I go and I take my seat and she's kind of sheepishly grinning at me, trying to console me with her eyes because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So I go and I take my seat. I started thinking about my life, this entire plan that I was taught by other people. It's like, if I get laid off right now, did I just waste my life doing something that somebody else told me to do? And I thought, oh my goodness, we just had our fourth child. If I can't provide for my family, does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty because their nerves are just crushing me. Well, the door to my boss's office opens up, and out walks a co-worker of mine with a piece of paper in her hands. She is devastated. She walks by me, and my boss says, Dustin, would you please come in the office? So I get up and I go into his office, and I get laid off. And this is the government, remember? Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but
Right,
I
right,
did.
right.
And this is the reason why I tell the story. I go back to my desk and I realize two things just getting laid off. The first one, I need to get another job. I need to find another way to provide for my family. So I was really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county, a different department, wasn't having those issues. Check. Got that. But then the second thing, sitting there in that desk, just getting laid off, I realized I need to make sure that this never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure that nobody can take away my ability to feed my family. So, right then and there, I realized whenever I would answer the question, we all get this question, what do you do? I would reply, I work for the county and I do IT. Well, when we reply with our job, what we're doing is we're projecting out to the world the value that we put on ourselves comes from our job. I realized my value doesn't come from my job. My value comes from my God and from myself and from my family. So, right then and there, I no longer said that. I would tell every single person I met that I am an investor. Now, it may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I am a full-time investor. So fast forward the story. Started buying property after property after property, each one making me 500, 600, 700 or more dollars a month in passive income. Eventually, I had 30 plus properties, and I realized I'm losing money work here. So the last part of the story, I went to my new boss, good boss and all, and I said, hey, I'm laying you off, jokingly. And we both laughed. And he says, what are you going to do? I said, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate that works for me, and I hire experts that do all the work, so I don't have to work. So the last part of the story, I would walk to and from my car 1.5 miles every single day. I've done it 1,000 times. It's too frugal to pay for parking in downtown. And so this last time walking in my car, I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never, ever need a job again. And so for you listening to this, I want you to realize that you are worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And this is how you'll know your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. If you got paid what you were worth, they would go broke. So instead, I suggest finding a way, and for me, it was real estate investing and owning businesses to where you become successful and employed, finding a way to make money for yourself and your family without working that dead end job. I like to call it a job because you're working and you're living just over broke is what job stands for. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
Yeah, this is awesome, Dustin. I appreciate you sharing that context because it is so helpful to hear, and it's a great reminder too for anybody listening that does have a job. Is like, yeah, I think you nailed it. They're paying you enough just to keep you there. So no, I think that's great. So walk us through, like, you bought that first property and then you got turbocharged and started buying all these other properties. How did you do that? Were you making a really good salary at this IT job? How were you able to scale so quickly?
Great question. And the reason why is because I didn't have much money working for the government. You don't make a ton of money. And so I think I make, I don't know, 60, $70,000 a year. But here's what I did. So in 2006 is when I first started investing. And I bought one or two properties. I think I had three by the time I got laid off. But what happened was 2008 and 9 happened when the real estate market crashed. And there were so many people, real estate investors, that were going bankrupt and going broke. You talk to any investor that was investing back then, more than likely they went bankrupt. I didn't. I was worried. I was like, oh my goodness, everybody's having problems. What's going to happen to me? Nothing happened other than the better thing happened. I started making more money because I was not investing like those quote unquote other real estate investors they were speculating, basically saying, I'm hoping that the value goes up over time. We know value goes up over time. If we just say, I'm going to, flip it in a year, then you are at the mercy of market cycles. I didn't want to do that. I only wanted cash flow. I love calling it, you become an income builder. You build income to replace your job. So you have all your expenses taken care of so you don't have to work anymore. And so what I did was I bought that one property, and it was in 2006, and it was in Ohio. I was living in California. California was way too expensive. You couldn't rent it for make any money. So I bought in Ohio, which made me cash flow. And in order to scale, to get to more and more properties, I realized I needed to recycle the money. And let me quickly jump right back into, and I'll jump right back out, the idea why I made more money in the crash. Reason why I made more money is because I invested for income to make money every month. So I make money if the market goes up, if the market goes down, or if the market goes sideways, I still make money. And over time, rents go up. Because if you think about it, when the crash happened, lots of people sadly lost their homes in foreclosure, but they have to live somewhere, right? And so the pool of tenants skyrocketed. There was so much more demand that my rents went up. And if you think just back in 2021, 22, 23, rents have skyrocketed since then. So the properties I bought back in 2006, 7, and 8, I was making, I don't know, $600 a month in rent. Now they're making me $1,200 a month or $1,300 or more. Like rents just keep going up. And so what I did was I kept recycling that money over. I bought that first property, cash out, refinance. I guess before the term BRRRR ever came up, I did back in 2006 and 7. I refinanced, pulled the cash back out because, values were going up back then. Bought another property, then refinanced that one, pulled that out, bought 2 more properties. And then it was just recycling that money over and over again and then getting creative in financing. And I'll say this, I've used at least 15 different ways to get financing to buy my real estate. And I just keep recycling that money over and over again. Does that all make sense?
No, it's perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. What was the most creative financing source you've used out of this 15?
Okay, I'm going to give you one. This is an advanced strategy, definitely an advanced strategy. And, you have a mortgage. And most people think you buy a house, you get a mortgage broker and a realtor, you put them together and you buy a house. Well, that's just one way. There's so many other ways. I'm going to go to the very far end of the spectrum. I used a credit card to buy real estate. And the reason why I say it's an advanced strategy is I knew my business that even though I was using a credit card, which had fees and all those, interest and all that sort of stuff, I knew my business. I knew that even if I borrowed that money, I would buy a house that would make me money. Because you'll get this, Michael. I don't pay the mortgage on any of my properties. I have 30 plus properties. I have 750 unit apartment complex, bought each one for like $30 million. So I don't pay for my mortgage on any of the real estate I own. I don't pay for my taxes. I don't pay for my insurance. I don't pay for repairs, meaning, or even my property managers. I don't have to get a job to pay for those. I make sure I buy the property, that all the expenses are accounted for before I buy it, especially the property manager, because I get people say, Dustin, how do you afford a property manager? I don't afford a property manager. I make sure that that's an expense that I
Part of the
account
expense,
for.
yeah.
Exactly. Before I buy the property. And then here's another expense that most people won't think of. I know I want to make money every single month from each property that I buy. I make sure I'm making $500 a month from every single property. So that's another expense item. I don't hope that I'm going to make $500. I put that as an expense item, $500, so that I have to buy it lower. Just like an investor, we capture equity. So we buy it lower than it's worth. Our rents are lower. Our mortgage is lower. But when you think about it, when we become an income builder, you basically build a business. And so I have my own, I coach thousands of students now, have my own podcast since 2016, just a solo show, me teaching how to do this. And with this, I tell everybody, you need to build a business. You need to build a business that views all your properties as a way to get income. And let me quickly share what that looks like. So if you're going to have a candy bar business, meaning you can buy a candy bar for 50 cents, and you knew all day, every day, you could sell it for $1. You're like, how do I buy more candy bars? Well, then you buy and you make 50 cents, would be great. The great thing about real estate investing, just like this candy bar analogy, let's say you did not even have 50 cents. It costs you 25 cents to borrow 50 cents. You're out of pocket 75 cents. You sell it for $1, you still make 25 cents. You're like, how do I borrow more money? And so with the credit card idea, I knew my expenses. And just like that same analogy, 50 cents plus 25 is 75 cents. I sell it for $1, I still make money. And so when you think about any type of financing you do. I mean, DSCR loans, debt service coverage ratio loans, signature loans, where you just go in a bank and get an unsecured line of credit, private money, hard money, subject to seller finance, like all these different creative finance ways I've done, coach thousands of students now how to do this. Um, all of these are, you have to account for them because it's a business, because you realize that you build a business, you get the experts. Here's a key. You get the experts in the city that you're investing. I invest in Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, and Indiana. And every single time, I don't go there. Out of the 30 plus properties, the single family homes, I've only seen one of them. All of them, I don't even see them because I see pictures, but I hire experts to do all the work. So I'll pause because I said a ton, but what are your thoughts?
No, this is so great, Dustin. This is so great. I mean, I love the how you mentioned that you just bake in what your cash flow needs to be as an expense. Because I see way too many people doing that. Go, oh, I'm going to buy this property. I hope it cash flows. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's hope is not a plan. You need to account for what it's actually going to be, and therefore you shouldn't have any surprises. So don't do that. So I love the fact you just bake it in. And then also what you're talking about, all the different creative ways to get financing. I financed a renovation, several renovations on credit cards because it's 0% interest for 12 to 18, 24 months, what have you. And so people are like, dude, that's insane. I'm like, but I understand what the risk is. And also I have a plan to pay it off at the end. So I think it's when people rush into these things without having a fully baked out plan is when they got themselves into trouble. So no, I love that. So, okay. With the credit card though, did you just use a cash advance, or was the title company willing to take a credit card for the closing? How did that work?
So there are ways you can do it. What meaning like there's new companies that have come out where you can, use that to do the cash out. What I just got their check. You get checks in the mail. It says, hey, here's a check. You just fill it out. I put my name on it. Just cashed it to my bank. That's literally how I do it. And I took that money and then I bought multiple properties because I use it as a down payment for other properties. Since then, that credit card's long gone. And I still have the properties making me money. And the reason why I knew that, just like you were saying, I knew that if I took this money, even with any of the fees, I'm going to make money, is because I built a business. And what I love sharing is that I'll say it this way. Most people that you see them on, let's say podcasts or anybody that talks about real estate, you'll never hear them tell you this, but I'll tell you this. Stop being an investor. You do not want to be an investor, meaning investors, don't get me wrong, you're investing your money. That's something you're doing. You're investing your money. You need to have your perspective that you are a business owner. You're a business owner because when you're an investor, you're like, oh, I'm going to throw my money in a stock and just hope it goes up. Or I'm going to throw my money in a property and just hope it goes up. No. Stop being an investor. Become a business owner. And this is what it looks like. If you're going to start a convenience store, soda machines and candy bars, all the good stuff, well, you would not sign a lease on a location, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in there on the ground. You wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. What you would do, though, is you would build the business first. So you get the gondolas, so they're just shelving units, all the candy bars go on, the countertops, cold storage, bank accounts, cash registers, insurance, employees, everything in the business before you buy any inventory. Same thing with real estate investing. We build the entire business, find all the experts in the cities that we are investing in before we buy the inventory. So every property that I own, even the huge 350 apartment complex I have near Nashville, that's an inventory. That's inventory that I have that I put in my business, and then it runs for me. And the quick last thing I'll share, when you're building the business, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you account for all your expenses, but then you hire the experts. Your experts are going to tell you if it's a good property or not. Without going to the apartment complex, let's go the route of single family homes. I've had thousands of coaching students now, my podcast and I get people that say, Dustin, I followed those quote unquote TikTok gurus and they said, just buy a property and, hope the value goes up. And I got stuck with it and I tried to rent it out and I called property managers and they said that they would not manage it because they'll get shot there. I'm like, oh, you don't have an asset anymore. You have a liability. So we got to figure it out. But how much better instead of calling up a property manager and saying, I've spent thousands of dollars to buy the property, thousands of dollars to fix up the property. Will you manage it? And they say no. Well, then you're out of luck. How much better if you find and you build the entire business first? You get all the experts first, and then you call the property manager and say, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property. Not, I already bought it, but I'm looking to buy this property. How much will it rent for? What's the vacancy factor? What's my clientele like? Will you manage it? No, plenty of other questions. In fact, I give all my students 22 different questions to ask your property manager and the answers. But if they come back to you and say, I'm not going to manage it, then you don't waste your time, money, and effort to buy the property and then start pulling your hair out. Instead, if they tell you, yes, we will manage it, this is how much you could rent for, this is X, Y, and Z, that's expert information. Like Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, like they're not experts. It's just a database and they're trying to do their best. More than likely, it's going to be off. You'll know you have an expert. When you start calling around, you find a good property manager, you say, hey, property manager, I'm looking to buy this house. Here's the address, number 1 Happy Street. And they say, oh, okay, I know that street. In fact, we have a house right around the corner. We were same size. We were trying to rent it for $1,400. Zillow said $1,400, but we couldn't rent it. We can only rent it for $1,300. That's expert information. If you buy the house expecting to get $1,400, but you can't, then your numbers are going to be off. So that's what I suggest. We build a business. We also become income builders where we're always making money, and we view our properties as inventory, having experts do all the work for us.
Yep. No, I think that's spot on. I've too have worked with thousands of investors all over the world, and I cannot tell you, and I'm sure you the same thing, how many folks go and buy a property without ever talking to the property manager, or like go get an inspection report, then close on the property, and then go talk to a property manager, and the property manager's like, oh, by the way, you got 10 grand in make rent ready costs. So like, no, the inspection only said 8. And it's like for totally different stuff. It's like, no, the inspector's looking for health and safety hazards and violations. The property manager's looking for make rent ready. So have conversations with both those people in advance of closing on a property.
100% right.
Yourself later. Dustin, this is awesome, man. I'm so curious. Like, you've heard the saying, get rich in your niche. So you're kind of like me in that you've spread across out different asset classes and different strategies. So you clearly were good at the single family thing. You made that work in the long term run. You're making $500, $600, $700 a month, which we're going to come back to in a minute. But why did you veer off of that? Why not just keep doing the thing you're good at?
So I like the way you say it, and I'll state it this way: my bread and butter, or what I'm expert, I've mastered, and like I said, coach thousands of people just like you, is the residential 4 units and below. It's so simple. I even sleep and dream of, I just bought into the property and I did all the numbers. I did everything right. I've done it so many times now myself, as well as coach people, that it's my bread and butter. I still, in fact, I just bought three single family homes. I want to say it was like 5 months ago. And I even taught my daughter, who's 16 years old now, my oldest daughter, she bought her first rental property and it's making $338 or something like that every single month. She bought her first property three months ago. And so
awesome.
I always do that. I always invest in single family homes. But here's the thing. Those are fantastic, but I love playing Monopoly. If you think about the way to win Monopoly is to not necessarily diversify. I don't like that term because people think, I got to get this stocks. No, I have my asset class in general is real estate. I'm not good at stocks. In fact, I'm good at buying high and selling low, which is the opposite of what you want to do in stocks.
You and me too. Man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even when I think I would normally sell, so I'm going to buy more. That's still the wrong thing to do. I'm terrible at real estate, at stocks. But real estate's totally different. And so what I say is my asset class is real estate, but my bread and butter is residential, 4 units and below. Here's another thing. I diversify in my asset. Asset is real estate, but different asset classes. So let's say the apartment complexes. I'm not the expert. I don't want to do the underwriting. I don't even want to find the deals. I want to be a part of it though. And so I love residential. I could do that easy. But I know other friends of mine, other real estate investors who are fantastic at storage facilities or fantastic at apartment complexes or commercial real estate investing. And we can work together, especially with these larger deals. Now, smaller home, 200,000, 100,000. And yes, there are homes we buy for 80 grand. In fact, one of them I bought for 67,000, put 20 grand into it to fix it up. So I'm out close to 90. And it's valued at 140,000 and it rents for 1,300. So it's great cash flowing. So I do that.
Awesome.
But I had friends that came to me and say, hey, Dustin, we're 3 partners and we want to bring you on because we know you are an investor. More than likely, you can find other investors that want to invest in this large apartment complexes or a couple ones that we bought. And so they're 100% the experts. I do some asset management trying to help make sure things are going well, but they're the experts. And so I partner with them. So there's 4 partners on 2 different large apartment complexes. One's 325 units in Chattanooga, another one's 350 units in Nashville. But I make sure I'm around other experts that I trust. And then I bring other people in. So I'm not necessarily quote unquote a syndicator where I just keep selling the deals. I don't like that. I just tell everybody, like my podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, I've got over a couple million downloads because people I just keep teaching over and over, or not over and over again, but like it's a solo show. It's me just teaching how to do this stuff. And with the show, I get a lot of people just saying, hey, Dustin, we've been listening to you for like 6-7 years. We trust you. We want to invest in your deals. And I've always told everybody, no, I invest in my own deals. Like it's just me and my wife. But then I realized that I might be leaving some people out. So I opened it up. I raised 1.5 myself for one, another 1.4 for another one. But anyway, so when you think about like asset classes, I get around experts. That's what I do. I make sure, but I have to trust them. Obviously, that's a big one. I just, you tell me you're an expert. But that's the big thing is I make sure I get around the right people because my time, I want to spend my time golfing. I want to spend my time, hanging out with my family or traveling the world. That's what I could do. As long as I have experts, they're going to make sure that everything's done well.
No, that's great. So would you say that you're like an opportunistic investor, whereas an opportunity presents itself that seems interesting or that you could add value to, you'll hop on board?
Great question. And I would say it this way too. Once I got to, I want to say about like 30 some properties, single family homes, I stopped having the, like, I gotta buy because the drive was to quit my job. Once I quit my job, I bought, I don't know, let's say 5, maybe 10 more properties to get more income coming in. But I had so much income coming in that I didn't need to go buy any more. That's why I started coaching or started helping people I wrote a few books and the podcast and everything back in 2015, 16-ish. And I basically said, I don't need to push as hard. I'm just start helping people. And then you're 100% right. There was a great opportunity to be a part of the apartment complex. I'm like, yes, I'll be a part of that. Or an opportunity, there's a deal, the 3 homes we just bought 3 or 4 months ago, they were great deals. It just kind of fell in our lap. Like, of course, yeah, we'll buy them now. And so when I was first starting out before I quit my job, so it took about 7 years, maybe 8 years before I quit my job, I was hustling, I was pushing, I was recycling money, I was getting in lots of, I wouldn't say debt, but just using leverage. And then when I was quitting my job, my wife's risk tolerance is less than mine. And she said, if you're going to quit your job, would you be able to pay off a lot of the mortgages on the homes so that I don't have to worry about it if you ever die? I'm like, well, then I can't buy more real estate, but okay. So I did that. I just paid off. In fact, all of the 30 plus properties that we own, I want to say maybe we have 3 or 4 mortgages. The rest are free and clear. Yeah. And so it's just from risk tolerance to everything else. But yeah, for me, I'm looking at now. Quick switch. So I was 37 years old when I quit my job, a little older now. And so now with 5 kids, I don't need any more single family homes. We got plenty of properties, making lots of money. But here's what I'm thinking now. What properties can I help my kids buy? So instead of me buying more properties, it's like, let's just buy more properties that they are buying. Now they're saving up the money. I'm coaching them how to do it, just like coach thousands of other students. And they're now going to be buying the property. So now I have a new drive to get more properties because it's going to go in their name, as well as I'm coaching them how to do all this sort of stuff. And so when another apartment complex comes around, I'll buy that one too. But at the meantime, my opportunity, like you said, or I go after opportunities. Hey, here's another opportunity. So I don't have the huge drive anymore, but now it's a drive to help my kids to buy real estate. And then it's generational wealth. All the properties that I own, I'll just be giving it to them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Dustin, for people listening that are so inspired by the story and like, yes, I want to do what Dustin did. They're hearing you say, I'm making $500, $600, $700 a month from single family homes. And then they're out there and they're like, no. That's not possible in today's day and age. What do you have to say to them?
What is not possible is, or the thought that something is not possible comes down to your own limitation of knowledge, education, even experience. Because when I first got started, I thought it was impossible to get to where I am now. I just thought, I can't. But you realize people have done it in the past. That's the biggest thing is, well, if somebody else has done it, I might think it's impossible for me. And then I start looking, oh, let me start searching in different cities and looking for properties. Oh, I'm running the numbers here and no, it's not possible with the prices being so high, interest rates being so high, and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's not possible because you don't know either where to look. You don't know the different options that are out there. You don't know, you're not connected to other people that want to sell you a property. I'll give you an example. An investor that I knew, because, if I wasn't an investor, if I wasn't already doing, if I didn't have all these options, I wouldn't be in this position. And an investor that I knew said, hey, Dustin, I'm going to be selling one of my homes. Right now, it's probably worth, if it's all fixed up, because it's going to take a good amount of work. And this is the one I bought for $67,000. He said, well, my cost basis was like $35,000. I bought it 10 plus years ago. Now it's worth 130. I want to get rid of it. And so he sold it to me for $67,000. $67,000. So he made some money, made, I don't know, 30 grand on it or more. No, he had, the mortgage was paid off. So he, pocketed all that money, less taxes. And then I put 20 grand into it. So I'm out close to 90. He didn't want to put the 20 grand in. He just wanted to move on. But I'm out 90. It's worth 130, 140. And I'm making, I want to say at least $500. No, probably $600 a month in passive income from this property. And so it's your lack of options that is the problem. Honestly, like it's just knowledge, but then also options out there. Because if you don't know the different options that are, how to find properties, how to finance properties, how to manage the properties, how to maybe do short-term or midterm or co-living or long-term, if you don't know the different things that are out there, you're not going to be able to problem solve. And when you're a business owner, the number one thing that we do as a business owner is we solve problems. If you have a problem like, I don't have any money, well, that's a problem. It's not that hard to solve. In fact, when I'm coaching students, the last thing that I teach them is how to get financing, because it's the easiest way. The easiest thing is getting financing, because if you have a good property, your money's going to be there. Just trust me. You might be thinking, well, I don't know this. I don't have this person. I don't have connect. Trust me. If you're doing everything right, it will be there if it's a good deal. If it's a bad deal, it's not going to be there. So, does that kind of give you a big, broad picture of my perspective of, yes, you might be limited because of your knowledge and options, but if you know the options, you know the knowledge, and you already built the business, you're going to be able to find these deals.
Yep. No, I think that's great. Dustin, I'm curious, for people that are just getting started in today's environment, what's your best piece of advice for them?
Oh, best tip. Okay, first I'll start with interest rates, and then I'll feed into the actual tip. So a lot of people say, well, Dustin, how do I buy real estate? Prices are high, interest rates are high, and you can't cash flow. I'm like, well, that's number one. That's your limitation, which we can work around. And I say this to everybody. I hope interest rates go up. Honestly, I hope they go up, because prices will come down. Because you think about who are my other investors, like me and other investors like you and other investors. Who is our competition for single family homes? It's not other investors, it's homeowners. Homeowners are the ones that way overpay for properties, pay over asking price, over market value. Well, that prices out the homeowners. So the biggest tip that I can give anybody is not necessarily hoping that interest rates go up. I just hope they do personally. But what I'm saying is, I believe we're getting into the best time ever to invest in real estate in our lifetimes. Even better than 2008, 9, and 10. I think it's going to get better. In fact, even so, residential, 100%. I just saw a recent thing that in commercial real estate or multifamily apartment complexes, that the current defaults, meaning they're not paying their mortgages, is as high as it was back in 2008 when the crash happened. So a lot of commercial properties are going to be coming on the market. I'm excited. I got lots of access to capital. That's a key term. Everybody, you should try to remember access to capital. It doesn't have to be your money. You don't have to save a ton of money. I don't save $30 million to buy a property. I get other people to work with me, or I get a loan. So I've got so much access to capital, so many people that want to invest with me. I'm just waiting for these good deals. And so what I look at is what's coming. Is the biggest tip that I can give you is become an investor now, because I love this proverb. When is the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Same thing with real estate investing. The best time was 20 years ago to start investing, but the next best time is today. So I don't want you to be thinking, oh man, I was listening to Michael, listening to his podcast every week, going back and back. I should have invested back then. Dust was on this call and I should have invested. You don't want to think 20 years from now, I wish I would have done that. No. 20 years from now, you need to be thinking, I'm so glad I listened to Michael. I'm so glad I listened to Dustin. I'm so glad that I started investing because look at where my life is now. So here's the biggest tip I'm going to give you. When there's I love surfing. I love sports in general, but I love surfing too. So when you're surfing, you catch a wave and the wave carries you in. You do not just try to catch a wave by sitting on your board and have the wave grab you. No, you have to paddle beforehand. If you start paddling after the wave passes you, you're not going to catch up to it. You need to see the wave coming, start paddling, getting momentum so that you can catch that wave and ride it in. So if you are just getting started, you need to put the pedal on the metal. You need to start investing just like paddling in that surfboard. Like you're paddling hard because now I'm so far ahead than I ever thought I would be that if there is a crash, I'm going to buy so much real estate. It's amazing because I've already been paddling. I've already been going. So that's my biggest tip for you is not just get started. It's you need to be going. You need to be going because when it does happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or even a year, 2 years from now, but there will eventually be a correction, if not a crash, just because it's just normal economics. It always corrects. Something always happens. It doesn't go up forever because I remember back in 2008, people were telling me, and that's how they went bankrupt. All these investors, it's never going to come down. It's always going to go up. You better buy now because you're never going to buy. And then it crashed, and then everybody got hurt. They've been saying that since 2021, 22. Oh, you better buy now. It's never going to come back down. I don't know. I'm gonna let it play out. But that's my biggest tip. You need to be paddling. So you need to be investing. You need to have the options. You need to have the education. Keep listening to Michael's podcast. You want to be actually investing because when that wave comes, you're going to be glad that you already have all this work done that you can just catch that wave.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's great. And great surf analogy too. I dig it. Dustin, this has been a ton of fun, man. Where can people reach out, find out more about you if they want to connect?
Absolutely. Hey, would you mind if I just gave everybody a real estate investing course for free?
No, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So I started my podcast, the Master Passive Income Podcast, because I just wanted to help people. And now my mission is to help 1 million people to invest in real estate because I make my money through real estate. This is just fun. And so I'll give you my course completely for free. If you probably listen to the podcast on a phone. So if you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777, rental to 33777, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. All one word, masterpassiveincome.com/free course. I'll give you my course. And people have just from this course, or even just listen to my podcast, have invested because I just give out all this information, show you how to find anywhere in the country to invest, out of state, how to buy properties, how to build the business, how to get experts, and how to become financially independent. Or you could also listen, like I said, the Master Passive Income Podcast, over 2 million downloads, me just teaching how to do this. It's been a lot of fun, as well as I have YouTube videos. Just look up Master Passive Income. One quick last thing, Michael, I actually have been really having a lot of fun with Instagram. I'm over 220,000 followers now, and all organic. I didn't buy any of them. I just been giving out all this great information, just like the podcast. So any of those ways, and just send me a DM. Tell me you listen to me on Michael's podcast. I'd love to chat with you and hopefully help you out.
Awesome. Well, thanks a ton for that, Dustin. Really appreciate it. And man, it was a real pleasure having you on and definitely look forward to chatting soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. Thank you.
You got to take care. All right, everyone, that was our show. A big thank you to Dustin for coming on, sharing his knowledge, wisdom, experience with us. Again, if you're just getting started, start building that business. Go build the foundation. Go reach out to the people who can help you along the way. And we're set up to help you do that at Bold Street. So come check us out at boldstreet.ai. We love hearing from you all. Ratings and reviews are the best. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Happy investing.